And by the way, we're scheduled the 18th. Right now, it looks like the 18th, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna go into, hopefully this will be our last work session. We'll get clear direction from the council exactly what. And by the way, we're scheduled the 18th. And that's in the recording. And that should hopefully give us give the city staff what they need to do to start the process, but there's a
Well, I
lot
like
of
the,
it.
I like the list.
Pretty
But we
detailed.
need to seriously- So. Just raise taxes. I don't want that.
How do you feel about that, Brian?
You don't want to hear from me.
I do.
I am so against tax increases. I don't think you can tax your way out of a problem. It's just, there's, and it's impacting my neighbors, my friends, myself.
Increase in the county taxes.
Mhm.
I'm one of those old retired people and I don't have all the money. in the
I am.
world to
I agree.
fight.
I am too.
Well, Kevin, we have given the city council members, all of them, some, what I think are reasonable solutions. And it may not necessarily have to be all in one pot. We can take pieces of a variety of things that will get us where we need to be. But the most important thing is I've shared with the city council, I says, whatever we do, it has to be sustainable. It's got to go for longer than just 1 year. Because the issues in terms of revenue has got to go longer than just 1 year. We don't see anything on the horizon that's going to change. So we need really good systemic solutions.
One of the things I was interested in, and we'll be touching on it tonight.
Mhm.
Are there any parts around Roy City that we could turn into commercial or
How are
residential
you?
properties we
Yes.
can sell to?
Yes,
I hope you're.
These are good
That's
for
one of the
me.
few ways we could augment what we've lost in property taxes.
Yes. Yes. Well, and one of the recommendations the council's got is one that talks about a piece of property on the north. So, and the purposes of that one, yeah, just to either look at it as some type of a development opportunity, either commercial development or both commercial residential. So, you know, it's right now, it's in the county, so annexation is certainly achievable, so. Are you?
I know, that's what I was wondering. How do we jump on that? You'd mentioned that in one of your
It just
documents.
takes the city council to simply direct it. And then it goes to the planning commission goes through the process, the planning commission makes a recommendation. And what the city does is it puts an annexation form. We got to do it anyway on the Hanson property. We just talked about that. And it's an annexation problem. The problem is going to be is that Ogden had its eye on that piece of property as well. But to the
So can we beat
city,
them to it?
what's that?
Do we?
We can. I mean, there's nothing say it has to go to them or go to us. It just, the key would be is put a package in there that works it. But the city, the county, as much as I love the county, the problem with the county has traditionally been is that when you're dealing with these little islands that sits in the middle of these municipalities, they can't provide the service. They don't take care of anything. But within the bounds of the city. In fact, they have encouraged over and over again. There's always been a debate going on the West Weber out there. The county has said, let's go in there and annex you cities. Let's do that. They encourage them to build a new city. They finally got one up there by Eden that's coming in, and they'll vote in the leadership this election cycle.
Yeah, Rock Valley's, they got a lot of interesting.
And I know that some of the issues. That's their issue. And so their driving force would be is they want more local control. Perfect.
Audio on, but I don't think Sophie can hear us.
I can hear it. No, I can hear it.
Now? Okay, she can hear us now.
Okay.
Hi, thanks. Thank you, Brett.
We put everything in the public's eyes, so you know what we know. You bet.
Thank you. Hello. Great, really good. Thank you. How are you? Good. Yep, yep, but he's making good progress every day. So I think he should be here. No, but he is starting to work the horses and I wasn't real tickled about that, but but we'll see. We've got a little crazy one that he's starting to work and she's just a crazy little thing.
Learning line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't it? It is. Yeah, right. And the tools they talk about really are so widespread, applicable, widely applicable for people and everything, you know, because sometimes it's just the personality, you know?
Recording in progress.
Yeah.
One thing
Yeah. So, yeah, so he's starting to work on her. We'll see. Thank you. Thank you.
Diane, would you consider leading us today?
Sure. Yeah,
Thank
that'd
you.
be great. Are you gonna be in town the next little
Hmm?
bit?
Yep.
So my goal is to have kind of all my research and preparation kind of done by the end of the week.
Mhm.
So maybe I could I'll get back with you after, hopefully have a couple appointments on Monday, finish up, but maybe I can bug you at the end of the week and
Anytime.
you'll, okay.
Yep.
Hear around and see. Okay. That sounds good then. Get it.
But it's
All
fun.
sorted out in our minds.
For the 18th. Good.
Don't you remember, Mayor? When I first got elected, you told me the hardest thing and the toughest job you'll have is doing the budget.
Mhm.
I concur.
Yep.
This year is.
I can't tell you to do, and I made a commitment, I'd never tell a city council member how to vote. But the key would be is I would come into the meeting with somebody says, here's how I think I want to do this. And it might be a surprise if every council member says, here's how I want to, we may be able to find elements of this where it crosses right over. And says, hey, we could do this and this and this and this, and we'll get there. And all Matt needs from you is just simply, tell me what you want. Tell me the direction you want me to go. We're not going to vote on it. All I need is 3 or 4 of you to say, let's do this. And once you do that, then he can now take that and assemble a budget, okay, that's going to accommodate us, because he has to have it delivered to you by May 1st. But just say, here's what I'm thinking I'd like to see done. And we just line those things up. And then that's what we do. And if it sounds good, we'll do that on the 18th. We can clear the requirement on the 18th. He'll have direction what he needs to do. And then what he brings to you on May 1st should be something that's pretty compatible to what you've asked him to. Now, as I stated before, okay, and I'll state this until I'm out of office. What we do and how we move forward really needs to make sure it's sustainable, because there's nothing I have seen, nothing I have seen is going to generate any new money, okay? So we really have to have a solution that's going to sustain us, okay, going for the next 3 or 4 years.
All right.
Yeah, and we really need to do that town hall thing.
So I just wanted to update you. So the base rate is no water.
Oh, okay.
Right? So every first 5,000 is 95 cents per thousand.
Okay,
Hi, Chief.
all right.
Well, yeah,
Yes, John had wondered that too, wasn't sure.
I am.
Thanks for the information. I'll make sure I get it. I like it.
More failure on our part.
Just misunderstanding. But hey, I'll tell you, when you provided the details, I remember in the meeting, Chief, I said, the mail, I said, this,
Oh.
I looked at the, I said, this doesn't seem. But
Yep.
the city, the auditors, well, we got it right out of
But
the
that
ordinance.
is
Like,
something
okay,
that
but I'm glad you
we don't
clarified
right
that
now
because
No, it's hard to
because we
get.
just do the car driving, yeah, that or whatever.
Thank you.
My Austin that.
didn't make sense to me at all.
Not there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can you?
I'm like,
I definitely did pick up, I did not pick that up. I mean, I talked, you talked about the radio, so that's cool, okay.
Yeah, so that's.
So why would
so
we
that, you know,
not show over $1,000?
citizens-
I know.
Where the apparatus sold out.
And that's how you do
No, when I
that.
read your data, that seemed like more like what was, I typically would have expected in the document.
Okay, that's how you accomplish that goal.
Yeah, so that's how we
I see what
accomplish
you're
it.
saying. That makes
Basically,
sense.
you'd see a lot faster.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
We'll get it right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But
thanks, Lisa.
yeah, if it saves so much time or whatever, so.
Are you ready for tonight? I sent you a little boatload of questions.
Yeah, that's like bring my secret weapon, Don Beer guy with Wasatch Civil. He's the one that done.
Oh.
So.
Is he the gentleman with,
He's in the
Good.
back there, yeah.
oh, the way
Good.
back?
Yeah,
Okay, well, thank you, Brandon.
yeah.
And by the way, I talked to Matt down there. Neighbors pulled me aside and said, man, we got some going on out there in that field. I forgot to, he called you on that. Your piece that you're doing for the roundabout, you've got that well marked. It looks good. The piece that I seen and the neighbors were talking about is the drill rig that's sitting in the middle of that field. And it drilled there and it looks like it drilled down into Clinton.
Oh,
I think they were doing perk test.
yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty tough, because I was like, there's no way, because Ben just told me that they got a blue stake, so.
They did all around that, all that area.
So, yeah, so the power should be coming, so. Boards for power. That's like, it's barely got wires. so.
Not unless it's in the middle of the field.
Yeah, so they'll probably see a different type of road right here, hopefully this week, next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
If I see anything exciting happen, I'll let you make sure you know.
All right, yeah, no, that's good to see some progress. It's been a long time coming.
We gotta meet next week.
Never.
Hey, Diane, Brian, we're getting close. Hey, Brittany, do we happen to have Randy on?
Yes, he is on now.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
Perfect. Hi, Diane. Hi, Ann. Hey, Ann, I've got to talk to you right after this. I need some help with the principal, okay?
I'm gonna go, if we get out of here by 6:30, I'm gonna go to dinner with my family. It's my grandson's birthday.
I'll be brief.
So we'll see how it goes.
Ready, Brian? Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody out to the Roy City Council meeting for February 4th, 2025. The time is now 5:30. I want to recognize and welcome that we have Councilmember Saxton. We have Councilmember Paul. She's online. We have Councilmember Scadden. He's online. We have Councilmember Jackson and we have Councilmember Wilson with us tonight. We've asked Councilmember Wilson if she would go ahead and lead us in a moment of silence as well as the Pledge of Allegiance. Diane?
If you'd please join me for a moment of silence. And if you'd please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, we got just one consent item, Council, December 2024 financial statement. Any comments or questions on those financial statements? Okay, seeing none then, do I have a motion then to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Thank you, Ann. Or was that Diane?
Diane,
Okay, thanks, Diane. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ann. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think I heard Randy. I'm not sure I heard.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. Any opposed? None? Okay, thank you. This is public comment period. If you have something you'd like to share, any topic, please step up to the mic. All we need is your name and your address. Don't be shy.
And I wore this sweatshirt just for you. Go
Oh.
Royals.
Looks good.
Anyway, Dennis Brown, 2119 West, 6000 South. Every time I come to speak to the council, I always talk about taxes. And so my wife and I was going through our spreadsheets, income and expenses this last year. And I was looking at the Roy City water bills. And I noticed they're approximately, because of the capital improvement and the tax on the water and things like that, they're probably between $22 and $25 per month above the previous year. And so that's $250 to $300 per building. I've got to raise my rent on for my renters coming up in just after I get through doing the taxes. So I'm asking you to try and keep expenses in line. I've done this before, but anything you can do during the year is beneficial towards the end of the year when you have to make a decision about the next year's budget. So I appreciate you doing that. And then I noticed yesterday they've torn down part of the strip mall there on 5600, the north end, like 3 or 4 buildings. Is there anybody looking to move into Roy and where, like in front of Harmon's grocery store or something like that? Is anybody looking to move into Roy as far as businesses go that you can speak about? And I'll sit down and just listen to your response. Thank you.
Okay. To be honest with you, Dennis, a lot of people have talked. The things that we can only talk about in terms of what's official is when they do a building permit. And when they officially request a building permit, then it's public. And from that public process, we can actually make announcements or we can talk about it. A lot of talk. We certainly like the talk, a lot of interest. But I've always been the type that I've been at this too long. Until I see a shovel in the ground, okay, it's all talk. And so I will tell you there's a number of projects that are looks like they're gaining traction now. Something is happening. Maybe it's a new year, maybe it's new administration. I can't tell you all the secrets of why they're doing it, but there's a lot more conversation happening now than I've seen in a while. But until we get something official, which is they request a building permit, we really can't, we just can't talk too much about it, but not at least in public. My comment to you would be is get a hold of Brody. He sits right in front of you. He's the economic community director. He can really go ahead and give you some things about what's happening, when it can happen, and make it aware to you. I know Brian likes to use his Facebook page as an avenue by which he can make announcements of things that are taking place. And so he will, when he gets the green light, you can pretty well bet he'll get it on his Facebook page. So we'll try to keep that information going because I, like you, want to see the improvements. But I will tell you, I come into office almost 12 years ago. 12 years ago, we had a conversation about the property south of Harmon's. I've been working that now for 12 years. It's off. It just amazes me. Anyway, please.
The demolition of Wendy's happened 3 months ago. There was a post on Facebook that they was going to move into Roy there in front of the store. Then someone said, no, they're not. Comment about Wendy's or no?
At this moment, I'm not so sure I can, but trust me, it is very close to being public. Fair enough? Very, very close. Okay. Anybody else like to share a thought, comment? Okay, we'll go out of public comment period. Council, we do have some action items. What I'd like to do on both these action items, I'd like to have then Brody and Brandon will just step up, kind of do the introduction, talk a little bit about that. If they have a guest that they have, maybe they can talk to some details. And then I need to open this up for public hearing. We'll invite the public then to officially come up, and then we'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for comments from the council, and then we'll go for a vote. But it's really important we get as much information on the table, both for you as well as the public to hear. So we'll begin then with consideration of Resolution 25-1, a resolution adopting the Water Conservation Plan update for Roy City. Brandon? Thanks.
Mayor, council, thanks for having me tonight. But yeah, just to reiterate, I'm here for consideration of Resolution 25-1, resolution of adopting the Water Conservation Plan update by Roy City. So this is a plan that's required by the state to update every 5 years. So this is one of them requirements that we're just showing that we're doing our part and we're trying to help with the conservation of water. But I have John Biergard here with Wasatch Civil. He's the one that put this document together. So I'll turn the time over to him. If you guys have any questions, he'd be the best one to answer them for you.
Okay. John?
I don't know if you need an introduction or just questions. I prepared to do either way. So
Okay. Is there anything you want to share with me before I go into public hearing?
well, just the water conservation, as Brandon mentioned, it's a state requirement. The goals are set. There's actually water conservation goals set by regions, and those are set by the state. And this is an attempt to comply with those goals, to identify some measures that the city can, or they're currently doing, and additional measures that can be undertaken to comply with the state's goals. Right. There's no penalty for non-compliance, but just pressure from the governor's office, I guess, if you don't.
Okay.
We
Okay.
don't meet the goals.
Good. And this is every 5 years, John, we go through this process.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we'll ask the public if they have any comments or questions on this. So council, like to go into a motion then to open up a public hearing. Do I have a motion then to approve that?
So moved.
Okay, that was Ann.
I'll second it.
Diane, all in favor, say aye.
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 Sophie?
Sorry.
Okay, I think I got all of you. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, we're now on a public hearing. If you'd like to comment relative to Resolution -1 or 25-1, please step up to the mic and let's hear your thoughts on this particular conservation plan.
I'm Kevin Homer. I live at 5398 South, 4000 West here in Roy. I did get a chance to review the Water Conservation Plan document. Good document. There are a couple of things that I would suggest you might consider adding to it. There is a section in there that talks specifically about the wells here in Roy and how the water is pumped around. I know that I've talked with Public Works a couple of times about it, asking a couple of questions, mostly about the pumps. Having watched all of the horror and badness that's been going on in Southern California and not being able to pump water around, in part, some of that is because they don't have the electricity to run the generators. I'm aware that, they're normally connected to the grid and that there are some backup diesel generators. I would really suggest that we consider more than just one redundancy, one backup way of powering those pumps. A lot of that document talks about catastrophic conditions, and having water and good wells without any electricity to run those pumps that would be a very bad thing. So if we need to employ some separate mobile energy systems, solar powered, there's a lot of good things that are available right now. We don't have to wait for technology to be developed to do them. I'd like to see a section in there that talks about more redundancy for those pumps.
Okay.
There's another section that talks about some of the things that citizens in the city could do. Really good list there. One thing that I would suggest adding is if we promote more being able to use containment systems, catchment systems to grab, it's legal for us to do. State of Utah allows it. Last I knew, we would be allowed 250 gallons per residence to catch that water, use it for your gardens, use it for, watering your lawns, whatever. I think it would be a good thing to have on that list of what citizens can do. So those are just a couple of things that I think that would be well to add to that document. If it's going to be 5 years before we look at it again, might be nice if there were some kind of a way that we could addend to that document and add a couple of things if we want.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
So Kevin, so those containment center, my brother got some of those. I know they handed them out for free, but then once they were all gone, do they hand them out free every year? Do you know anything about how the citizens get those?
For me, I'm not going to come to you and ask for money to buy those. I'm just going to buy them on my own.
Because I know,
that's kind of
I know my brother got his for free.
I'm not going to ask you to provide me with that stuff.
Right.
I will buy it and build it myself. So for me, I would prefer to do that.
Because I know somebody was giving them out, because I know my brother got some of them, but then when I asked him, he said they're all gone. And I don't know if they can do that every year, or do you know anything about that?
Yeah, we received, and they received a note indicating that they would like to do one of those, but the way it works would be is Roy City buys them
Oh,
and then donates them to the public.
Oh.
Myself, I think that's a really bad idea.
Well, it's
For me,
it's the
I'll buy
program.
my own. I'll buy as many 55-gallon blue drums as I can and tie them together with sprinkler piping and all kinds of stuff. But that's what I would prefer to do.
Yeah. At least the email I received about a month or two ago was just
okay.
that. It says, is Roy City willing to purchase? I suspected a discount, but I think it was about $19,000.
For
then-
how many?
Whatever 19,000 would buy.
Well, how much are they individually? per cost?
I didn't get the actual price, but that was a discount price. But they would bring probably hundreds, to a parking lot and give them away.
Oh, okay.
But the intent would be as Roy City would pay for them.
Okay.
And then they would basically give them out, which to the public would be a great option because to them it's free, kinda.
Yeah.
But to the city, it would be an expense.
I guess I'm gonna have to reintroduce my resolution about not using the word free here in Road City.
I mean, look at it.
It's a boondoggle.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find out how my brother got his free. Maybe.
Oh, Kevin.
He didn't get it from us, so I don't know.
I understand. Thank you. Anybody else like a comment? This is on Resolution 25-1. Okay, seeing none then, Council, do I have a motion then to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sophie?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, any opposed, say nay. Okay, Council, we're out of the public hearing. Comments relative to Resolution 25-1.
I was just going to bring up a couple of points that I thought were very interesting when I was speaking with John. One of the interesting things is Roy City is already meeting some of the goals that the state would like. When they measure them at the point of service, we're at 50 gallons per capita per day, and a lot of the goals would be 70, and so we're improved with that already, and then move it down every decade to a lower amount. And as you read the document, there was an area that refers to like 250 gallons per capita per day and that sort of thing. But he was saying that area really is like referring to like a home. So that 250 really would be divided by the individuals in the home. So that keeps that approximately 50 gallons per capita per day, which sounds actually still like a lot of water. And I think a lot of these tips were excellent. So I thought that those were really good pointers. I thought that was an excellent list. And then with the comment from Kevin, I don't know how many people do read this document, but could we adopt this by just saying that we would insert a point about the rainwater and then find out exactly how much they could do? Would that be a problem to just say we adopt it with that? And then we just get all the details to make sure it's accurate?
Yeah, you can add that. There is a state code that governs that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah, because we'd want to make sure we had accurate information with that.
Yeah, so the state code it's 73-3-3.5. Really, that whole chapter governs it, but, or actually
Okay.
sorry, maybe that's the.
All right.
Okay. Anything else, Diane?
I think that's it for my
Okay.
comments.
Brian? Ann?
Oh, I'm
Randy?
just happy we got deep wells. Roy City, we have lots of water, so.
Randy, any comments?
No, nothing for me.
Sophie?
No.
Okay, I just had a few. I sent those to the city in advance. Brandon, I didn't want to catch you off guard. So if we can just walk through a couple of things. In the packet, specifically page 2-2, the table 2-1 and 2-2 call out Roy City population numbers. And by the way, I'm not sure where the documentation comes for these population numbers. Interesting. Please, if you like, John, we can probably just walk through a few of these.
The population, we looked at various sources, Kempsey Gardner Institute, Wasatch Front Regional Council, and there's a lot of variation in the numbers. I was surprised. The numbers we used are from the Roy City General Plan,
Okay.
2023, and it's based on the U.S. Census. So.
Okay. Yeah, obviously, I'd love to see 20 or 40,100. That certainly would address some of the concerns I've got with our population number and sales tax. Right now, the state is basically putting us at, I think, at 38,200. So all the indications are showing the numbers are dropping. I expected some of that when we took out the homes on 5,600. We didn't, UDOT did. But the numbers that that at least they're grading us to is a lot different than numbers here. That's okay. Okay. Obviously, we can find a way to basically we can correct those or at least try to bring those back in balance. Let me go to the next question if I can. And thank you, John. You might be able to help us on the next one as well. I'm speaking specifically about supply inventory, page 22-5 and 2-6. These numbers were really kind of fascinating to me. Let me just ask the question to me, if you can help me through this. Table 2-3 states that Roy City water rights, there are 9,730 acre feet. That's our right, okay, of water. In addition, we purchase from Weber Basin, the Water Conservative District, 3,468 acre feet of water per year for a total, according to the numbers, it looks like 13,198 acre feet. Table 525, which is right up there, it talks about, if you kind of look over in 2.5, it basically says, and I found this really interesting, it says that the water demand, including that which we feed to West Haven, so we sell some of that water to West Haven, is only 3,360 feet. Certainly, there's a lot of excess water, which somewhat surprised me. Can anyone help me explain why Roy City is required to purchase the water from Weber Basin Water's Conservative District?
Yeah, those are contract purchases, and those contracts were signed.
Can you speak into the microphone, please? Thank you.
They're based on contracts that were signed decades ago.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly, but I suspect at the time they anticipated Roy City's boundaries were going to be going west and north, and the creation of Hooper City and West Haven City kind of locked you into
that
smaller boundaries. Also, I think at the time they wanted to have a more diverse supply. There was some. Again, I'm speculating, but the water levels came up high in the 80s, and they started to drop in the 90s. It was concerning. I think there was some concern about the water levels in those wells. It's stabilized since that time, and I don't think those are the same. We have the same concerns that maybe they had in the 90s. But.
Okay. Well, thank you, John. Certainly, it does suggest is Roy City now, within its 4 deep wells, can meet all of the demands and then some without any support from Weber Basin. But if I remember a conversation, and I appreciate kind of that dialogue, John, is because we have to buy it. Those agreements were set in motion years and years ago. So whether we use an ounce or we use our total allotment of 300 or 3,000 something, we pay the same price.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, council? Even though the numbers suggest is that we got lots and lots of water and we don't really need Weber Basin, those agreements are kind of.
One other thing to consider though with Weber Basin is your system is set up for delivery at those points.
Yeah.
So eliminating would, even though the supply is there, it would create some difficulties.
It just is such an interesting relationship. Go ahead, Brandon.
Let me add a little to that. So also when we think about that, we have to also think about what it costs to run our deep wells as well as the wear and tear on our facility. So honestly, the Weber Basin water is a pretty good approach just because it's coming to us already treated. And like I said, we don't have to pay the extreme power bills. And so it has worked out for us. I think we run about 95% of Weber Basins. We average high 90s. So we try to utilize that water so that, because we are paying for it, like you said, regardless if we're using 1 gallon or all of it. So, but that needs to be weighed in on the conversation as well, as just the wear and tear on our deep wells, as well as treating the water before it's out. So there is some expense as well as running our deep wells.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate you explaining that. That's good information. Thank you, Brandon. On page, we're talking about water rates. So this would be page 2.8. On page 2.8, and then the water demands on page 2.6. So it's kind of look a little different. But here's my question. Table 2.5 shows the projected water demand and supply. Within the table, it shows that in 2024, we provided 220 acre feet of water to West Haven. On page 2.8, it shows that the water shows the residential water rates, but nothing about the commercial and industrial rates. So we simply just captured that piece and not the other piece. I know we can find that information when we go into our schedules, because honestly, we approved all those not too long ago in terms of what the water rates would be. But it doesn't mention in terms of the rate billed to the water district that supplies water to West Haven. So we're selling them, or we give them the opportunity to purchase 220 acre feet of water, but what do they pay for? What do they buy? And then can you tell me what they're charged for the water we ship them? Any ideas on that?
yeah, so I actually looked earlier today. It's just roughly about $300 per acre foot, which comes out to basically 91 cents per 1,000 gallons.
Okay.
And I think the reason probably we didn't list it, maybe John can follow me up on this, is this is basically like a conservation type plan where we're just showing that once they do go over the allotted amount that we are, I hate to say like gouging them, but I mean, it is a higher rate for the more gallons they use. And I think that's behind this document, is we want to prove that we're trying to get people to, conserve water. So I think that's why we show the tier system, where when we do wholesale the water to West Haven, it is just a base fee of 91 cents per 1,000 gallons.
Okay. Thank you. And the conservation practices, so we'll move to page 4.3 in your packet. Let me just talk about that. There was some interesting things that's outlined there. It says the additional water conservation measures includes expanded and water conservation committee. I never knew there was a committee. It states the committee would be expanding to include community leaders, city staff, and residents. The city staff caught me a little cold there, Brandon. Who is on the committee from the city?
So funny enough, it's probably kind of a broad statement, but I believe you attended that Grow Water thing, and I think that's kind of just where it basically came together. So Steve Parkinson, I believe you was there. We had Michelle and Casey from the Parks and Rec department.
Okay.
And then Cliff Lavender. And since then, I've also been involved also with meetings. So that's, and I believe Rodney with secondary water was also involved
Okay.
in that.
I probably took some liberties in calling it a committee.
I was intrigued by it. Okay, John. No, I don't. I'm just excited about it. To be honest with you, no. And by the way, it also says that we can include residents. I mean, at some point in time, maybe getting the people who basically consume it involved, and that would be a pretty healthy idea. I mean, I like that idea.
Yeah, we can definitely bring whoever you'd like into it.
Okay, I appreciate the answers. Just another one along that same line. It says additional water conservation measures, including maintenance, maintaining electronic records of metered water used by individual connections to be implemented in January of 2028. Now, help me with this, and I'll qualify this a little bit better, Brandon, if you would. The report on page 27 states that the city began installing radio read meters to provide opportunities for better information, inform customers about water use. In fact, we moved to a monthly billing, if I remember right, in large part because we had established those meters where you can literally drive by them and pick up the data off those meters off the street. Why would we find it necessary to wait till 2028 before we basically move out and do something here?
So we have came a long way. Like I said, the radio reads is definitely a big upgrade, and we went from 2 months to 1 month billing. What this is kind of referring to is eventually, hopefully by 2028, we'd like to implement what's called an AMI system, which is basically you push a button on your computer and you can get your reads, as well as the residents will be able to have a website where they can access and see their basically up to the hour water usage. So it would help us pinpoint obviously leaks a lot faster. They would flag us immediately versus us, when we go out and drive the road a month later. So that's kind of how we're collecting our reads now, is monthly when we drive the truck. This
Okay.
would basically be instant. If we could see a home that shot up 1,000 gallons from the previous day, we would know that there's an issue there and we could address it a lot sooner.
Okay, well, that's 3 years. Sounds like the technology is in place.
And it is. It's just expensive. We've put it in the budget a few times, but
Yeah,
we'll
it
continue
just
to put
falls
it in the
out?
budget.
Okay.
So does every house have a meter in Roy right now?
Yes, every house has a radio read meter.
Okay.
So with this system, depending on the coverage, what it is basically we put a repeater on telephone poles throughout the city, and we'll have one major hub. And depending on how our meters now, because they will read, but there may be some spotty areas where we will have to upgrade the radio on the meter. So, I mean, it's
means
kind of,
you won't have to drive around. It'd almost be instantaneous.
Yeah. Nick, you would just hit a button on our computer and there would be the reads. So
Okay.
that would help us with personnel also with the meter reading end of it.
Okay. Well, the reason why I share that with you and the reason I'm interested is there's such a lot of conversation dealing with water conservation, Brandon, you know that. The state legislators are still poking at it. Okay, they poked it heavy last year. They're poking again. Anything we can do to find ways by which we can conserve water, certainly that's an important thing. I looked at your charts, John, that you put in there. The charts are all indicating that the consumption is going down, which is, in my opinion, very healthy, and maybe in large part because you're doing much better at metering, okay, that consumption. So it's all good stuff. But if the next step of this conversation is to get to this idea about automatic reporting, maybe there's some value in trying to find a way to get on that before the next 3 years, if there's a way to do that. Okay, just a couple last things on that. The Appendix A, the water system map, that particular map is a little bit dated. The best I can tell, it looks like the map was actually the one that's still showing the islands the county owns in the city. I guess my comment on that one was, I assume we do have hydrants inside those county.
Roy City itself does not. Hooper Water feeds those areas.
In the county?
Yeah. So when we annexed it in, Hooper fed it previously. And
Okay.
so, yeah, we do. Roy does not own any water lines in them
Okay.
annexed in areas. So that's kind of why we left that map on, just so that it kind of second, so they don't think that we do have water lines in there. But
Okay.
we can definitely take it out, whatever. But yeah, we don't own any water lines in those areas.
Okay, well, they certainly didn't show the water lines and didn't
Yeah.
show the hydrants, but I figured that was an oversight. You're indicating we really don't have any involvement with those. They're all
No,
tied
Hooper.
into the Hooper
Yeah.
connection. I didn't realize they went that far east.
Yeah.
I knew they were down below, right around 3,500, but I didn't think they went across 3,500, so. Okay. Perfect.
Hey,
Thank you.
Brandon, how many households don't have secondary water? That have to use the culinary water to water their yards?
You kind of caught me off guard there. I would probably dare go out on a limb and say we're probably less than 800 homes that doesn't have secondary water. I know down there, just west of 3,500 and south of 56, that Landahoney area does not have secondary water in there. And I believe maybe even that other county portion right there on the east side of 3,500 may not. I don't know. I can definitely find out with
Well,
secondary
I
water.
just know driving around Roy City when we're doing the beautification in the summer, and ever since, we had the drought and everyone quit watering their lawns, that probably has a lot to do with saving a lot of water.
Yeah,
I see
fortunately,
a lot of dead yards, but then a lot of them replaced them with rocks and stuff too, so.
yeah, fortunately for Roy City that we do have secondary water in the area, and it's, a small percentage of Roy does not have secondary. So,
And
that
it's
definitely
probably
helps.
thousands of dollars to get hooked up to secondary water now, right?
Well, especially if they don't have a main line through there, secondary water's got to front the cost to get the main line. And usually when they do that, they make it mandatory to tie into it, I believe. But we can definitely work with secondary.
And each
see-
homeowner has to pay out of their own pocket for that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
But that may have changed now with the conservation. They may put some money aside for that. I don't know. I can definitely reach out to secondary water and talk to them and see if there is opportunities to serve those Roy residents with secondary.
Might be a good conversation. I think, again, water is going to be a big issue. Brandon, thank you. Council, any other questions for Brandon or John?
Thank you. Thank
Randy?
you for all of it.
Sophie?
I'm good.
Nope, I'm
we'll
good.
see you in 5 years, John, right?
Okay. No other comments, questions? Matt Wilson, I think I heard you say that there can very well be an opportunity to maybe make some enhancements to the document if we needed to add some things that Diane was suggesting.
Yes, and just to clarify, so the specific code is actually 73-3-1.5.
Got that?
That whole chapter does govern it, but that one talks specifically about a landowner's rights and what they're able to do without registration. So
Perfect. Okay. Okay, with that, council, then, do I have a motion then to approve Resolution 25-1, a resolution adopting the Water Conservation Plan update of Roy City?
So
I'd like-
move, Diane, you go ahead, Diane. What you wanted to
Motion
say.
I
to
move
approve?
that we approve consideration of resolution 25-1 with the addition of the rain barrel information on the tips at the back.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with the adjustments. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ann. This is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Thank you, council. Resolution 25-1 is approved. Okay, we have one more consideration of Resolution 25-2, a resolution of the Roy City Council declaring certain real property surplus to the city needs. We've asked Brody to go ahead and lead to the conversation, and then we'll open up for public hearing. Brody?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council. This before you is Resolution 25-2. This is a resolution to enter into a purchase sale agreement with Coal West LLC for the sale of Roy City-owned real property located at 4060 Sandridge Drive. This is 1.31, acres, right there by the UTA train station. in just looking at this, a few highlights. One of the proposed contract, this proposed land would be sold with the idea that a development of townhomes, for sale townhomes go in. There's actually a good timeline in there that controls development. Essentially, once a final plat is done by the city and the developer would essentially is saying that within 18 months of that, they would have product ready for sale in that area. The 17 townhomes on that 1.31 acres is a great use of space. We see a lot of advantage of leading out and trying to do something to capture growth in that area around the train station. We've all, I think everyone at some point or another has been involved in some of the TOD plans and the UTA plans that we've worked and tried to push UTA to kind of maximize that property there. We're still waiting for UTA to get some movement on that. This is a piece of property that the city does control and can decide how to best use it for all advantages. It certainly would maximize some of the housing issues that we're facing and satisfy some of those requirements in the general plan to look for moderate income housing. So Taylor Anderson from Coal West is here. I'd invite him to come up. We have a few slides. He would like to just talk a little bit about their proposed project and show the council what they're thinking. Want me to plug in or you've got it? Okay, perfect. I probably should have sent you the PowerPoint version so you could make it bigger. Okay, was that as good as it's get? Okay.
Best as it'll get.
Yeah, so our proposal is 17 townhomes. If you go to the next slide, a couple slides, let's see, or just the next one. For a minute, we were proposing maybe a 2-story traditional townhome, but we think with being near the train station, a 3-story urban type product is what we're thinking for this area. 3-bedroom, 2-bed, 35 by 20, and an average square foot somewhere between 1540 and 1650. And then you see it's 4 plexes and then 1 5-plex. You can go to the next slide. And you can ask questions if you have any as I go. Maybe go to the next 2 because there's, I just for your reference, I went and took some pictures. Obviously there's that slope there. We're going to need a retaining wall in the back. So that's added into our improvement costs. But we think it's a really good site for what we're proposing. So you can go to the next couple. So this is called the Lana. This is a project we're doing in Provo. And don't fall too much in love with this, what you're seeing here. The materials we would use on the project aren't really shown in this, but this is the size of the product we would do. This is around 1540. But yeah, 3-story, really nice. We haven't gone into the design yet, but we could do modern, we could do traditional type. But this is something similar to what we think we would do. So you can go to the next one. It's just an oversight of it. You can go to the next one as well. And then, yeah, here's just kind of a site plan or floor plan of everything. And then you can't really see that, but it's basically around 500 square feet, a little over 500 square feet per level. But yeah, we think that this site could be really good and what we're proposing. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions.
Hold your thoughts. Council would like to do a public hearing and then get those comments, bring that back, and then we'll open up the council to talk. Okay, if that works for you. So thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Okay. Then Brody, you ready for me to go ahead? You got your comments out? Perfect. Okay. So council, then do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. You guys are sounding so much alike to me. Okay. Okay. All in favor, going to public meeting?
Aye.
Did I hear Sophie?
Yeah, aye.
Perfect. Randy, I think I heard. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we are now in a public hearing. If you have a comment relative to this particular development, please step up to the mic, give us your name and address.
Kevin Homer. I live at 5398 South, 4000 West here in Roy. Believe it or not, I really did not plan on saying anything about this one. And I know the planning commission will go through, you know, the plot plan and ask these some questions. But as I look at this 17 townhomes, the development, it looks like it's a good thing. If I were to be friend of someone that lived there, there's not very much parking. I only saw 5 spaces there, maybe only 4. So let's look at it a little bit harder and put some parking there. Can't park in front of anybody's garage there. That's not going to work if you're coming to visit somebody there. So I think it needs a little more parking.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Anybody else has a comment? Thank you. Dennis?
Dennis Brown. I'm a little bit hard of hearing, so I'm just wondering if Randy Skadden and Sophie can hear what's even going on. The last 2 speakers have just been, you can't hear anything back here. So where is this development proposal at? What's the location?
It's
Is it where you
actually
turn
down
off
by the
Midland
train
Drive?
station, but Brody, maybe after Dennis sits down, let's make sure that's very clear because I think they just need to understand clearly where this development.
Well, I just want to make sure Randy and Sophie can hear what's going on also, because we certainly can't hear back here.
Okay.
Who's ever speaking? They need to speak into the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, full disclosure, I can hear just fine. I've
Okay.
not had a hard time hearing anything. In fact, I actually probably hear it better than probably what you're in the room at.
Me as well. It's very clear.
Okay. Anybody else have a thought they'd like to talk about? Anything else on this particular development?
Track
Okay.
station, down by the track station.
Yeah, I'll have him answer that
Yeah.
because I think, Brody, we really want to make sure that's clear. The pictures kind of showed it, but if you're not familiar with the whole area, could be a little confusing. Okay. Hearing no more public comments, make a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Randy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
Sophie?
Can you,
Oh. Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, we are out of public hearing. Brody, if you can go ahead and help us to kind of answer the question that come up, because Dennis brings a good point.
So the property is located at 4060 Sandridge Drive. It's on the road as you enter the UTA train station.
Okay, you okay with that, Dennis? Does that make sense? There it is right there. So if you look at that little bend, Brody, go ahead and point that out, would you?
Yeah, it's just highlighted in red. I know that's small, but it's right as you enter off of, 4000. It's that corner piece that Roy City's has owned for a long time. Heads up right going up the hill.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. And to Kevin's point, we've seen the preliminary design. We appreciate that. But really what we're really focusing on here is actually the city selling this land. So a development can go on. So to Kevin's point, will that conversation now go into the planning commission as they kind of work out all the details of the?
Correct. Assuming that this is approved and that closing occurs, yes, it would facilitate. It would go through the planning commission as a project, and it would have to meet all of the zoning requirements, parking requirements, and planning commission would flush out parking heights, type of building facades, make sure all that the ordinances down there are followed.
Yep. Okay. Council, any questions, comments relative to this thing? Brian?
Well, a couple. The project, it would have, what, a 35-foot max height?
Yes.
Right.
And it would have, the ability to fill in a space that's currently not on the tax rolls. And so in addition to the sale price, it would gain in perpetuity the taxes that would be generated from it. And if there's going to be 17 townhomes, that roughly works out to about a $4 million project. If I'm thinking that the prices are going to be between 400,000 to 500,000 per unit, do we have an idea of what they're going to be per unit?
We don't. Yeah, and they could probably speculate and say that, but it's probably not appropriate to base our decision on
Okay,
what, because ultimately, as long as their project follows our ordinance, they can build it once they own the property. But yes, a $4 million valuation, just simple arithmetic, is probably low.
okay.
Well, and once we get something down there, and hopefully other people will see that, and other businesses and other people want to build down there too. It's just going to be a start of hopefully something big that will bring some more businesses into the city also.
Yeah, this is going to be the pace setter for that area. Again, it'll just be nice to get ground broken down there and get some development, in process. So I'm looking forward to that.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Randy, Sophie?
Nope.
I'm good.
Nope, it's a great thing for the city. I'm really excited about it. So,
Okay, I sent you a couple of questions relative to the contract. They were minor issues. I'll leave it by the time we sign it, if we can just maybe just clarify a couple of things on that, Brody. But I think if the council approves this tonight, those are minor things we can do. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Any other comments, questions before I go for a motion?
nope.
Okay, then council then, do I have a motion then to approve resolution 25-2, a resolution of the Roy City Council declaring certain real property surplus to the city needs, authorizing the sale of the said property as consistent with the state law and the policy of authorizing the execution of the real property purchase agreement to sell certain real property and providing an effective date.
So moved.
I got that one, Randy. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't want anybody else to have to repeat that.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you,
Brian.
Brian. Okay, this is a roll call vote. Excuse me, Brittany?
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
I,
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. Resolution 25-2 is approved. Thank you for providing details on that too. Thanks. We now have one discussion item. Let's walk through the discussion item if we can. I don't have any charts, but I gave you something in the packet, council. If you will we'll just walk through a couple of things on this if you can. The intent of this, 1 July, state statute basically says that Roy City and any other city, for that matter, in county that has a development that can take place within 5,000 feet of a military base. So that will include for us Hillowfield, but for the county, Little Mountain facility out on 12th Street, all the way down to Camp Williams, any military facility around there. If it's within 5,000 feet, then the requirement is that under the law that was passed, and the bill that was actually passed was House Bill 265. That was approved in the 2023 general session, so it's been a couple of years ago. The intent of that would be is, as I stated in the packet, if there's development that takes place or an application for development to take place, they would like us then as a city and any other city that's involved with this to route this information to the Utah Department of Veterans and Military Affairs for them to route it to then the military organization to see if there's going to be any impacts. Impacts could very well be height of buildings or height of towers or height of anything. It could very well be, not sure where the thing's going. It could also be things dealing with rather large solar arrays or solar panels, where you may have an aircraft flying into the base or flying out of the base that could be blinded by reflection. So there's a number of things that this intent would be as they look at how we lay these kind of products and these operations in the cities to take place. It's not very clear in terms of how the process works. In fact, I stated in the packet, I've been working with the 75th Air Base Wing. We've been trying to find a solution. Anybody who's done this, because all of us had to have it done by the 1st of July, 2025, and we can't find anybody who's there. And so we're a little bit of a bit of loss. So Brody's aware of it. He's got his team going to be looking at this. I'll ask Brody to kind of talk about his strategy. But the intent of this discussion was really to kind of give direction to the city to go ahead and get the Planning Commission to start this process now. Not only do they have to come up with a way and how we're going to do it, but you may very well have to approve it. And we don't have a long time to get this done and get it back to you for final approval. So that's the crux of this. If you read the packet, it'll have a lot of more information, but certainly that's the crux of the issue.
Well, is there anywhere in this whole 5,000 square foot perimeter available for anybody to build anything high enough that they would be denied?
Well, and because we just did the whole, what was it? The avigation easement law that was passed. How much overlap do we have in that?
To some extent, it's going to be very much the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And because I thought we'd actually encompass that as part of that ordinance that we passed, but I guess not. This is a secondary.
Yeah, the reason why it's different in large part is because that particular ordinance, which you approved, the overlay was approved, that was 5,000 feet from the edge of the runway. This particular ordinance says it's 5,000 feet from the fence line of the base. And so we're probably at least 5,000 feet away from the actual runway today at Hill Air Force Base, but we are certainly, as I shown you in that little map that's in the packet, we got a piece of Roy that's actually in the overlay is actually sitting within 5,000 feet of the base. And so, Brody, if you can, maybe kind of talk about what your strategy might be as we move forward on this.
Yeah, so all good questions. And to be frank, and I'll just say it probably politically incorrect. This is a really good idea with a really bad statute. Quite frankly, as Mr. Wilson and I go through this, I think the things they were trying to encapsulate and make us do, they actually didn't do in the statute. That being said, we are going through this to try and comply with not only the statute, but what the intent is essentially to communicate with a liaison, someone from the planning department up at Hill Air Force Base. The keys that we're kind of taking away is the biggest thing they're worried about is rezones next to the Hill Air Force Base, and they want some sort of communication. That being said, I think quite frankly, a lot of the plans that we have now satisfy a good chunk of this requirement. We actually have a meeting with a gentleman who is the liaison from the state office of a name I can't all the way remember off the top of my head, but his job is to coordinate with the cities. He's essentially the go-between for the state between Hill Air Force Base and the cities on this issue. We're actually meeting with him Thursday to go over not only what we've currently done in our ordinances and with our zoning and some of our overlay zones, but also with kind of a draft that we got in cooperation with Layton City to see if what we're going to bring forward complies with their understanding of the statute as well. So it is due 1 July. Quite frankly, unless some new thing happens, I think we're well on our way to bring this either to Planning Commission or City Council to have it ready by the deadline.
And may I just add one thing? So in it just says that we develop and maintain the compatible use plan. So it's not necessarily an ordinance that needs to be adopted or anything. Whereas you compare it with the general plan, it says you shall adopt a general plan as a municipality. So the language there, like Brody pointed out, just not well written. So, I mean, if their intent was to adopt, they didn't use the language that forces us
They
to
should have
adopt.
done.
So
Well,
the-
go ahead.
So the comment of the requirement of an ordinance to adjust the zoning code is actually, that would not be necessary then when we talk about that. Okay.
It just depends on, one, are our uses currently compatible with what they see? So if they're not, then there would need to be some changes.
And I appreciate, because it really does need a legal assessment. And maybe in the conversation you have with Tyler, maybe you can point that out, because I can't help to think that every city, and there's a lot of cities that come up close to military operations, are probably struggling with this, which is one of the reasons why we couldn't find anybody. We may very well be leading the pack in terms of trying to find an answer. Maybe in your conversation with Tyler, he can come back and get the legislators to clean this thing up if it's the intent is there. I don't know where it goes. All we know is it's an action item. Whatever you can do to help plow the road on this and see what we can get, I think that's a great thing. Okay. And I personally don't know if we're going to have any big developments, although I do believe there could be a tower or something that could be placed in the wrong place in Roy that could be a problem. And we certainly this is a height issue that's still, I think they're really concerned about. So, okay. Are you okay, council, then? It sounds like the city is ready to move forward and get this thing done by 1 July. We'll just keep it on the radar as they work through this, and we'll kind of go from there. If you would, Brody, since it looks like you're going to take the lead, keep me posted, because Riverdale has the same issue. Washington Terrace has the same issue. The county has the issue. I know Layton, Sunset, I mean, we can go to the north or south on this, we'll have the same problem. Every one of those cities are definitely within that 5,000 of that gate or that fence. And the bottom line would be is all of us need to figure out how this is going to work. Okay? Thank you. Council, we okay? Okay, we got head nods. Thank you. Okay, city manager and council report. Matt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I actually only have one thing tonight. The Boys and Girls Club reached out to us about their annual fundraiser dinner. If you guys would like to attend, please let me know. I'd like, if we do end up going, I'd like to make sure we fill that table. It does come to the cost of $1,750 this year. So they raised the cost of that $250. The day is Saturday, April 12th at 6 p.m. and dinner starts at 7.
That's my birthday, so probably
I think that they do a great thing, that Boys and Girls Club, but with all of our budget concerns, I believe this would not be the right year for us to join in personally. I think that we already donate an extensive amount by the facility. So my move would be, if we want to attend, we could do it privately on our own with our own personal. Otherwise, I don't personally believe that the city should sponsor that. I don't know if there are any other input, just because we already do contribute a lot. We contribute to the drawings, we contribute to the day-to-day activities, but those are my feelings.
Other comments, thoughts? It's okay. It's all being recorded.
Well, I'm just saying I'm not going because that's my birthday. And that's my family, but I can see what Diane is talking about also, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll introduce it one more time to make sure we're all on the same page. Then we go forward, but just recognize to plan for it if you have an interest in going, and then we'll finalize between you whether or not we're going to buy another table this year. Okay, anything else, Matt?
That was it,
Council,
Mayor. Thank you.
any comments, anything you'd like to see done, anything that you feel is amiss?
Just waiting for spring so we can get working on our city again, make it beautiful. So,
Okay.
yeah, get spring fever. They're tricking us now, and it's going to snow again and get cold.
Yeah, 67
And
degrees
we
today.
need a lot of snow, so we have water. So
Yep.
that's what I'm praying for.
Yeah. Randy, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Nope, I'm good here.
Okay, Sophie?
No, thank you.
Ryan?
No.
Okay, Diane? Okay, council, we appreciate that. Do I have a motion then to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Ann. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 One more. Perfect. Okay. Any opposed, say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you. My question,
Have you guys ordered?
my question to you would be, is I'm trying to get, thanks for your comment.
I never asked the question, but on that property they're selling, did anybody stop and look at the frontage on both, on that corner to make sure that property is vacant? Is long enough to put another business there or a house? There should be frontage about 100 feet or more
Have you
on
already got your
side
food?
of that property. Doesn't make it right now.
Yeah, there's one that's closer to 4,000. That's a vacant. That's owned by UTA.
Okay.
And then the piece that goes up the hill up there is also owned by UTA.